My name is Isabella. I am 30 years old now. I lived a very quiet life in a small apartment building. My job was fine, but it was sometimes very lonely. I worked as an accountant in a big, gray office. Every day felt the same as the day before. I followed the same schedule always. I woke up at 6, I drank my coffee, and I left for work quickly. I finished work at 5 and came straight home. My apartment was clean and very neat, but it felt cold inside, like winter all the time. I felt a deep, aching emptiness in my heart. I wanted someone to talk to every day. I wanted someone to laugh with when the day was long. I was searching for true affection and real connection. I often thought maybe I was not interesting enough. Maybe I was going to be alone forever. This feeling made me very tired. I watched many people on the street holding hands. I saw friends meeting for dinner and smiling brightly. I realized I was just observing life. I was not truly living my own life. I hoped for a change soon. I needed a new beginning. I spent most evenings sitting on my small sofa. I was watching old movies on the small television. My phone never rang. I never got text messages late at night. The only sounds were the traffic outside and the hum of the refrigerator. I usually ate a simple dinner of soup or bread. I always set one plate at the table. The empty chair opposite me was a constant reminder. It was a reminder of my profound solitude. Sometimes I tried to read a good book, but my mind was always moving quickly. I was thinking about how to meet new people. I practiced friendly sentences in my head. I thought, tomorrow I will talk to the nice lady at the market, but then tomorrow came. And I did not speak to anyone important. I just bought my vegetables and went home again. I was trapped by my own shyness and fear. I often looked out the window at the city lights. They looked so close and bright. But I felt far away from everything, like I was living on a silent island. I tried to remember the last time I felt truly happy. It was a long time ago. I missed having someone to share small joys with. Even things like a good cup of tea tasted better with someone else. I was waiting for happiness to find me. I was waiting very patiently. I thought that maybe destiny would bring me a friend soon. I was going to try to smile more often this week. I was going to try to look people in the eyes. I was hoping for some small miracle to start my new, better life. This quiet routine was making my heart even lonelier every day. I was becoming very sad because of this simple life. My apartment building was quite old, but the people were generally friendly. I usually saw the same faces in the hall every morning. I gave them a short, polite nod, but I never stopped for a long conversation. One sunny Tuesday, a new person moved into the apartment next door. Her name was Clara. She was maybe my age. She had a very bright, honest smile. I saw her struggling with a very large box. I stopped near my door, thinking I should offer help. I thought, go now, Isabella. Just offer to hold the door, but my feet stayed stuck to the carpet. My heart was beating too fast in my chest. I watched as another neighbor, an older man, quickly came to help Clara. They started laughing together immediately. They talked about the heavy furniture and the small elevator. Their conversation flowed so easily, like a small, fast river. I closed my door quietly. I felt a sharp pang of jealousy and sadness. Why was I always the one outside the circle? Why could I not start a simple conversation like that? The conflict was heavy inside me. I had a choice. I could stay safe inside my apartment and protect my lonely heart from rejection. Or I could risk rejection and try to connect with the world. My fear of rejection was very strong. It was like a high, thick wall around me. It kept me safe, but it also kept me desperately lonely. I started seeing Clara often in the hall. She always looked at me and smiled warmly. I managed only a small, quick smile back. I felt guilty because I knew she was being kind. I was the one pulling away always. I heard music sometimes coming from her apartment. It was soft and cheerful music. It sounded like happiness. I thought, Clara is going to have many friends very fast. I started comparing my lonely evenings to her social life. This comparison only made my sense of isolation much worse. I realized my loneliness was not just a situation. It was becoming a habit. I was practicing being alone every day. I felt like I was failing at the simple act of living. I wanted hope so badly. I really wanted someone to see the real me. I wanted a true friend who would not judge my quiet nature. I was hoping for a fresh start, a true new beginning where I could finally open my heart. The fear was winning. I continued my routine. I avoided the hallway when I thought Clara might be there. I made small, unnecessary detours through the back stairs. This tension was exhausting me. I knew that I was the only person stopping my own progress. I knew that if I wanted affection, I needed to give affection first. But taking that first step felt like climbing a huge mountain in the dark. I wished I could be brave just one time. I really needed a moment where the choice was taken away from me. I needed a force strong enough to break my protective shell. This moral conflict about reaching out was becoming unbearable. I often cried small silent tears into my pillow at night. I prayed for strength. I prayed for a sign. One Saturday morning, the weather changed very quickly. It started raining heavily. The wind was extremely strong and loud. I was standing near my window watching the storm. I heard a loud crash sound coming from the hallway right next to my door. It sounded like glass breaking and a person shouting in surprise. I hesitated for maybe 2 long seconds. My automatic response was to stay inside, but the sound was truly terrible. I thought, what if she is hurt? I knew I could not ignore a potential emergency. My sense of basic humanity was stronger than my fear in that moment. I quickly opened my apartment door. I looked out into the hallway. Clara was standing there, soaking wet, shivering badly. Her large umbrella had snapped completely in half.
She had dropped a glass jar of pickled vegetables, and it shattered everywhere.
She was holding her wrist tightly. There was a small cut on her hand, and the blood was bright red against her pale skin. She looked completely distressed and very vulnerable. She saw me standing in the doorway and she looked straight into my eyes. Her eyes were wide with immediate relief. I forgot all about my fear of awkward conversations. I just saw a person who needed help instantly. I spoke immediately. My voice was surprisingly steady and clear. I said, "Oh, Clara, please come inside right now. You are freezing cold. Let me help clean your hand." She nodded quickly, completely unable to speak. I guided her inside my tiny, organized apartment. My small home suddenly felt warm and necessary. I sat her down on the kitchen chair. I found the first aid kit very fast. I was operating on pure instinct. I cleaned the small cut very gently with antiseptic. I wrapped a clean bandage around her wrist. While I was doing this, she finally started to speak softly. She told me she had gone out to the corner store without checking the forecast. She hated strong storms. She was shaking a little because of the cold shock. I made her a hot cup of lemon tea immediately. We sat there in my quiet kitchen. The rain was drumming loudly against the window glass, but the silence between us was not awkward anymore. It was comfortable and very safe. She looked around my apartment slowly. She said, "Your place is so peaceful, Isabella. Thank you for opening your door." That simple phrase hit me hard. Opening my door. I realized I had not just opened the physical door. I had started to open the door to my lonely heart too. We talked for almost an hour while the storm passed. We talked about silly things, like the terrible cost of city rent and the challenge of finding good tea. We talked about how hard it is to meet new people when you move. She admitted she felt very lonely too sometimes. This was a shock to me. I thought she was always happy and surrounded by friends. But she said, "The loud laughter often stops when I close my own door." I was stunned by this shared vulnerability. I looked at her bandaged hand, and I knew this accident was my true turning point. I understood that affection and friendship must be nurtured. It will not just appear magically. I knew I was not going to let this important connection slip away. I was going to fight my fear now. Word count check, exactly 400 words. After that rainy morning, things started changing slowly. We began meeting for coffee every Wednesday evening. It was a new and very fixed ritual for me. Our conversations moved from simple neighborhood talk to real, personal stories. I started to share small details about my boring office job and my silent weekends. I told her about my deep desire for friendship. I confessed to her that I felt ashamed of my loneliness. This was the hardest part of the process. I had always kept that feeling hidden deep inside. One afternoon, I was talking about how my past relationships had always failed. I started to cry a little bit. Clara reached across the table and she touched my hand lightly. She did not offer me easy answers. She just listened very carefully and patiently. She told me, "Isabella, you are a very kind person, but you are also very hard on yourself. You need to start being your own friend first." This sentence stayed with me for many days. Be your own friend. I realized I was waiting for other people to fill the empty space inside me. But the empty space needed my own love and my own compassion. I had to forgive myself for spending so many years in isolation. I had to forgive myself for believing I was not worthy of affection. I realized that my sadness was a thick, protective wall I built myself. The emotional climax arrived when I finally said the simple words out loud. We were sitting on a bench in the park on a Saturday. I took a deep breath. I said, "Clara, I am very lonely, truly. Sometimes I think the quiet will crush me completely." Saying it out loud felt like breaking a huge glass barrier. I felt suddenly light and very exposed. Clara smiled gently. She said, "I hear you, Isabella, and you do not have to be lonely anymore. We are here now. We can face the quiet together sometimes." Her acceptance was the true beginning of my healing. Word count check. Exactly 300 words. Now, many months later, I still live in the small apartment. But the apartment does not feel cold anymore. It feels warm and full of light, truly. Clara is my very dear friend. We do not need to talk every single day. We know we are both here for each other. Sometimes we have quiet moments together. These moments are peaceful now, not lonely. I realize that true connection is not about constant noise. It is about shared comfort and real honesty. I learned that hope is not something you wait for. Hope is something you actively seek out, even when you feel afraid. My lonely heart is lonely no more. It is full of self-compassion. I have learned to appreciate my quiet nature. I know I am worthy of affection just as I am. I do not have to pretend to be someone else. I am going to join a local art class next month. I am opening myself gently to new experiences every day. My new beginning started with a broken umbrella and a difficult confession. I want you to remember this lesson. If you feel isolated, look around you carefully. Maybe someone else nearby is waiting for your smile. Maybe they are waiting for you to open your door too. The affection you seek might start with your own simple act of bravery. We must always seek the sunshine after the long, difficult rain. If you liked this story and want to learn more, subscribe to the channel and see the next story.